This is praiseworthy. This is praiseworthy. A New York judge tosses 46 convictions tied to a detective who admitted to lying. This is why I say that this is for New York. This is not a Massachusetts case. But in the state of Massachusetts, the feds filed in January 2024 a 71 count federal charges against 6 state troopers. And in that case, there are unnamed, their names redacted, police officers across the state of Massachusetts and fellow state troopers who were involved in that scandal, which included falsifying records. So any kind of a conspiracy to falsifying records, they should open up those cases. That's why I believe in the Karen Read case that the lawyers should have sought whether or not any of those officers and state troopers that were unnamed in that case are involved in her trial. Because it does matter. That's credibility of them as a witness. Okay? Because whenever they are involved in any kind of deceptive, falsifying records of any kind, that affects their credibility as a witness. And it should. So thankfully, this judge did the right thing in the state of New York, tossing out 46 convictions tied to James Donovan, a former New York Police Department detective who later pleaded guilty to false testimony. Not that it was directly connected to those cases, but this is the effect. This is what should be done. And that's why we need more watchdog groups in every single state across the United States, wherever there is, credibility issues of any corrupt officer. The fundamental fairness and reliability of each of these convictions has been called into question. Bryce Benjett, director of Queens District Attorney's Office Conviction Integrity Unit, said in court on Thursday. Now that's good, but the problem with the integrity units across the United States is very, very few. Very, very rare that they do something like this. Now, New York may be a better integrity unit, but a lot of people call out integrity units in various states across the nation that are not, it's just all show. They're not really, they're basically, checking themselves. And it should be an outside, non-state watchdog group who, investigates. So the convictions, which included drug possession, trespassing, and other misdemeanors, will be cleared from the records of those who were arrested and whose sentences have all been completed. We cannot stand behind a conviction where the essential witness was a law enforcement officer convicted of a crime that irreparably impaired his credibility. Now, see, it doesn't say that they were directly connected to any of those people's crimes. Just that they were deceptive, and they were involved in that case. So, former New York Police Department Warrant Squad Detective James Donovan pleaded guilty in 2023 to perjury in the third degree. He retired that year, and he was allowed to retire, too. He's sitting on a retirement pension after being convicted. The charge stemmed from a 2020 investigation in which Donovan testified before a Queens grand jury the following year that personally arrested a man sleeping in the back seat of a car and saw a gun hiding beneath where the man had been lying. In fact, Donovan did not actually make the arrest or observe the firearm in the car, according to the Queens DA's office. He later admitted his testimony about the arrest was false when interviewed by a prosecutor preparing the case for a hearing. Elizabeth Felber, supervising attorney of the Wrongful Conviction Unit, the Legal Aid Society, celebrated the decision to toss the cases. While we hope that this moment delivers some justice and closure to the New Yorkers impacted by these tactics, the sad reality is that many were forced to suffer incarceration, hefty legal fees, loss of employment, housing instability, severed access to critical benefits, and other collateral consequences resulting from criminal convictions. All told, the Borough's Conviction Integrity Unit has dismissed 148 convictions since its founding in 2020, praise God, 132 based on the work of detectives whose credibility was later undermined, according to Gothamist. The Independent is the world's most... Okay, I was talking about that. So, yeah, I'm thankful for that, and I think that people in every state really need to make sure that integrity units are really doing what they should be doing. And, this is, I know that people are like, oh, everybody in jail says they're innocent or whatever, but in this country, And I'm sure probably other countries, as the world gets darker and darker as far as sin-wise, the corruption becomes more prevalent. And, overturning convictions is, it's just not enough. There's not enough of them. There's a lot of people, and it's horrible. They lie in reports. And not just victims of people who've been incarcerated, but there's victims of people who've been victims of crimes that police have covered up. There's all kinds of corruption, so pray for more of this type of, standing up against corruption. Pray for our police departments across the nation to have more power of integrity, because, if corruption is the standard way in these pockets of, area where there's corrupt, how can anybody who wants to be on the up and up go into those police departments and operate with integrity when he's surrounded by corruption? You know what I mean? Like, you have to weed out the bad guys, and you got to give power to those who want to be whistleblowers, because a lot of time whistleblowers, they're not really protected in our country. I know there's federal statutes that protect whistleblowers, but they're not really protected. A lot of times they're retaliated against, and that is a really hard thing to do, from one person in uniform to go against another person in uniform. There's a lot of retaliation, okay? But they need to do the right thing. When I was a soldier at war, if I saw somebody violating policies, I would turn them in. I didn't see that. I did not see that. And I'm thankful that I didn't. Anyways, you gotta just pray for our forces, and I'm just thankful. This is a praiseworthy report, and I'm not against cops. I'm against corruption, and I'm an anti-defund the police person. I will tell you that. I'm absolutely anti-defund the police. I am for advocating for better laws, mandatory prosecution. Like this guy he got to keep, even though he was directly involved in harming people. Why should he, who's convicted of a felony, why should he get to keep his retirement? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in that, but I think that you shouldn't be able to keep your retirement. I think that needs to be a consequence that has them in fear of doing crimes like that with their positions. And, oh my goodness. And then police abuses and excessive force. Okay. And I'm also somebody who will stand up against people who are wrongly accusing cops, on the internet. I hate that too. Anyway, I hope you have a good weekend.